Welcome back to the second episode of my classic journey. Thank you for all the support on the first video. I definitely didn't expect it to gain as much traction as it did. A lot of people have mentioned that a large part of what made BDO special in 2017 was the community, and I completely agree. What made BDO so great back in the day was hopping on to grind Sausans with a friend. It was getting attacked at Sausans, declaring war on that person, then having the rest of your night turn into a full-blown guild war that ends the night at 650 kills and 582 deaths. I would do anything to get that community feeling back, but even with it missing, this journey has been a lot of fun so far. The gear progression feels amazing, the world feels so large again, I have so much to do, and I have absolutely no regrets in starting this adventure. On the subject of being on this server alone, I must say that there's something really eerie about being absolutely alone in a giant MMO world. I first experienced this when I was making my own custom zone for World of Warcraft and testing a fishing quest that I had implemented. I was sitting there late at night fishing, and I thought, wait a minute, there's literally no one else in this world. I am completely alone. I think it's a feeling akin to if you were to wake up and everyone on Earth had just vanished, leaving you as the sole human on Earth. It's eerily quiet, calm, and just empty. Despite this, I have been making the most out of my time alone. Much like during COVID, this solitude gives me the chance to lose my sanity just enough to pretend that I'm not alone. I started decorating a house, making friends with my workers. Oh hey Dave, fancy running into you here. And just enjoying the freedom that comes with no pressure of falling behind. I am the most powerful entity on this plane of existence. I am the king of Balanos, Serendia, Calpheon, Medaya, and Valencia all at the same time. Mere mortals cower in my presence, for it is I who holds the power over the lifeblood running through their coated veins. One click and they all shall perish. Since the last video, I've gotten a little bit of feedback, the most common ones being classic is terrible, classic is amazing, and that I have lost my mind. And only one of those I can confirm is true. I left off the last video with achieving my first big goal, level 56. Now that that giant hurdle has been crossed, it's time to push my gear, begin boat building, and finally unlock Valencia. I started out with testing my newly awakened powers by bullying the skeletons of Hexe Sanctuary. This has got to be one of my least favorite grind spots. The mobs are just so spread out and their drops are not good enough to feel rewarding. Unfortunately though, the Witch's Earring is the best earring that I'll have until Tungrad, so whether I like it or not, I'll be here a lot. Luckily, in the first 30 minutes, I managed to get both a Hex Marie scroll and my first Witch's Earring. That's one more accessory marked off the list. On my way back to Heidel after grinding the skeletons, I decided I'd run what scrolls I could. Obviously the Hex Marie scroll, but also some relic scrolls as well as a beg scroll. The Hex scroll rewarded obviously nothing, to be expected. Relic scrolls gave memory fragments as per usual, and the beg scroll, well, would you look at that, my first boss piece. This was my third beg scroll on the account and I already got the gloves. I don't even think that the drop rate is affected by the satchels, so I was just mega carried. At this rate, even getting a tet is going to be a breeze. With the earring out of the way, it's time to go back to Helms. I clearly just can't get enough of this place. This time though, it's Helms Underground for the Ancient Guardian Seal. This spot is a little more difficult than its outside counterpart, but it has up to 3 golems at a time for even more scarlet necklaces, and the bigger mobs for the Guardian Seal. Amazingly, I once again got the Guardian Seal in less than 30 minutes. Off to Elric's, I guess. Oh look, an Outlaw Ring. So at this point, I only have Pirate Island left, plus Sausans for more Gruno gear. This is going way too fast. I wanted to be stuck in Medaya for a while, so it's time to move the goalpost, something we're very familiar with in BDO. I decided that now in order to progress into Valencia, I must have plus 15 armor and weapons, as well as Pride Blue accessories, just because I felt that the suffering could be tuned up a little bit. I say it's suffering, but I'm actually having a lot of fun with this. The world feels so large when you're interacting with so many parts of it. It is around this point that I started to make some shocking discoveries. The biggest being that I have the potential of being wrong. Turns out that I'm a big fat liar and none of you should have ever trusted me. The Night Vendor does appear, sometimes. Gathering does work. Kind of. Farming also works. Nothing else to that. It just works. Hunting probably also works. So it turns out the Night Vendor does appear. It just so happens that he never spawned when I walked by. I checked Velia and Heidel multiple times and he was just never there. But suddenly, he appeared in Velia as I was walking by. Despite this, even when he does appear, trying to get an item from him still doesn't work. So I guess I'm sticking to the spreadsheet. With gathering, the gathering nodes that you walk up to collect from don't work, so I just assumed that extended to mob gathering and farming as well. It turns out that mobs such as sheep, deer, etc. can actually be gathered from, and farming is completely functional, at least as far as I tested, which was not the entire loop. So that means that I can now get meat, hide, blood, onions, weeds, etc. for cooking, alchemy, and crafting. This is also another source for hards and sharps, meaning that farming Medaya stone golems might be back on the table. As this guy pointed out, the hards and sharps were from gathering the stone golems and not from the scarlet necklaces. And as this guy pointed out...
Oh, these are the different golems. He's talking about these golems. These golems do hit hard, but they're doable.
They're different from the ones at the helms. As a life skill main, learning that I can do some farming and gathering actually makes me very happy. As a side note, the fact that gathering partially works but is not fully functional made playing the game a super fun puzzle. I can't gather wood or sap or monk's branch or most things really, and a ton of my goals require a vast amount of materials. Take crafting an ultimate reform stone for instance. Steel, platinum, red tree lump, easy stuff. But what about that tyrant's blood? I need monk's branch and silver azalea, so I send out a worker for that. Thank God I can gather blood, so the bear blood is taken care of by me. Purified water can be purchased from a vendor in Valencia or processed from muddy water gathered by workers. Trace of nature could be gathered by workers, but I find it much easier to melt weapons for it. And now the wild grass are weeds for the pure powder reagent. Where in the world can I get that? Only one quest gives 10 weeds, and that's definitely not enough. No mobs drop weeds. The only other source is from gathering. Or is it? That's right, pruning while farming also gives weeds as a byproduct. Now with all of that out of the way, I can make 1 tyrant's blood out of the 80 that I need to get 4 ultimate reform stones. Now back to farming accessories. With pirates as my next goal for the grind spot, I had to find a way out there. A boat, obviously. So initially, my goal of building a boat was a fishing boat. But Blue Squadron thought that when I said boat, I meant a ferry sailboat, so that's now the goal. Not just any boat, but the Afaria sailboat. The only item that I don't currently have a way to obtain is logs, so unless I can find a source for logs that doesn't require gathering, because it doesn't work, I am going to allow myself to buy the standardized timber planks for 1 million silver apiece. This means that the boat will cost a minimum of 800 million silver to craft. Remind you, this boat cost 400 million silver on the marketplace in 2017. Obviously, this is going to take a long time to make, so it's not going to be the boat that gets me to Pirate Island. Fortunately, while doing my Afaria blueprint daily, I discovered a quest in Port Afaria that gives me a raft. So, with this trusty new raft, I spent 18 minutes sailing out to Pirate Island. That's 18 minutes of my life well spent, if I do say so myself. The raft made it to Pirate Island with half of its lifespan remaining, so that means that if all goes well, each raft is a single trip out and back. Spoiler alert, I decided to start working on the script while autopathing back from Pirate Island. We all know how well autopathing works on the ocean. I didn't make it all the way back. While I was at Pirate Island, I began to understand just how mortal I really am. I died a lot. If I pulled too many mobs, had to stop to ban a bot in chat, or got distracted by showing someone in chat what the old skill tree looked like, I was dead. This is where I discovered another thing that doesn't work on this server. Crystal breaking. And I think all death penalties. I have been using loyalties for tiers so I wouldn't lose XP anyway, but it does seem like my XP isn't going down. Because not losing crystals is absolutely not true to the BDO spirit, I'm going to be rolling a random crystal to break every time I die. The way this works is if I die, I roll a random armor piece and a number. The crystal in that slot number in the armor piece that gets rolled gets removed from the armor without any extraction item, effectively destroying the crystal. Aside from many deaths on Pirate Island, it was actually a pretty good grind. This was the first location that I had a proper balanced PvP fight on back in the day. I was solo grinding a side rotation of Pirate Island at around level 56 or 57 when I got jumped by a Musa from an enemy guild. Fortunately, the mobs had just been killed, so I didn't have to worry about dying to them, and I started spamming my PvE rotation on the Musa. Lots of healing and turning my camera to face the Musa later, and I came out on top with a sliver of health remaining. He came back and killed me not long after though, and I left the spot. But that one interaction was enough to get me hooked. The fight with the adrenaline, panic, and glorious victory became the benchmark for what BDO was to me. A fight like that was why I was gearing up. Prior to this, I had been just exploring the game. Everything was new and fresh and would continue to feel that way for quite a while after, but now I had an even stronger purpose. I wanted to get gear so that I could defend my grind spots, help guildies defend theirs, and become the PvP god I was always meant to be. I want to preface this by saying that I've never been much of a PvPer in MMOs. I'm not very competitive, and I hate being a detriment to other people's play experiences. I have never in my life pushed someone off a grind spot. But even with that being the case, PvP is what made BDO special to me. The thrill of fighting another player over resources, or fighting a large group of players over a dispute, likely stemming from combat over resources, is intoxicating. I think that is what people miss the most about this game. Anyways, back to the non-PvP, entirely single-player BDO Classic experience that I'm subjecting myself to. Pirate Island was quite fruitful, and in a single hour I managed to get 4 red coral rings, as well as 2 blue coral rings. I completely forgot that blue coral rings are AP-only rings. If you were to give someone the choice today of a 5 AP ring or a 4 AP 3 DP ring, they would pick the 5 AP ring every time. Wait, it's 1 more AP and doesn't even give me negative DP? I'm all in! But back in the day, people actually ran the red coral ring quite a lot. Well, to be fair, we were still AP monkeys back then because most people ran the Mark of Shadow, but the red coral ring was a close second. Unfortunately, in my hour at Pirates, I did not get a red coral earring, so that means that no matter what, I will be sailing back here again, assuming I can get another boat. Otherwise, I'm swimming. You may be thinking, oh, just buy a raft from Creo or any other NPC near a wharf. And you'd have a good point if this wasn't 2017. I don't recall when specifically the raft got added to vendors, but it was not a thing back in the day. You had to either get the raft from the marketplace, a quest, or craft it yourself. While it may look like BDO Classic is only grinding, it's actually a lot more varied than that. Now that I'm level 56, I've been spending more time exploring the world to get knowledge for energy. I started expanding my worker empire because even though they only do one job at a time, I still need those resources. If you've forgotten, if you don't have a value pack, you have to go out to the node to connect it and invest contribution. This means that anytime I want to expand my node empire, I have to run out to the location to invest my contribution points. Now that I can gather, being able to craft gathering tools and a gathering outfit is on the list, I don't want to be stuck with 20-second gather times forever. I also decided that I should make a guild. Not for the guild missions or payouts, because I can't even get those in a single player guild, but more for the guild skills. If I can manage to get +3 gathering from my guild skills, then I will only need to get +1 gathering clothes to hit the maximum of +5 gathering. If I don't get the guild skills, then I will need to run +2 gathering clothes plus the gathering elixirs that I get from helms. For those that have forgotten, including myself, the guild missions for a small guild back in the day did not pay very much. The highest paid missions give a whopping 50,000 silver for completion, and the lower paid missions are 25,000 silver. I can't collect any money from the guild or use sea monster hunting for money, so this guild is entirely just for the skills. I know that I've already said it multiple times, but this challenge so far has been a blast. I originally thought that I would just be playing the game on stream and that would be it. I would get years of streaming content 2 to 3 hours at a time. But it turns out that I'm both a bad streamer and once again getting hooked on BDO. I end the stream and start getting things prepped for the next stream, make sure my armor is repaired, get the boat back to Valencia, all the boring stuff. And then, oops, suddenly I put in another 10 hours that day, gathering, discovering nodes, processing, grinding, managing workers, decorating my house, crafting tools and clothes, killing scroll bosses, and the list just goes on. I mean, even right now I'm laying on the bed of my residence for energy so that after I finish working on the script, I can get back out to gathering. I just can't stop myself. During my time off stream, I went and attempted a Kazarka fight, as someone had asked if I would still get loot from him if he despawned. So I figured I'd give him a shot, even if it was going to take a long time for him to despawn. And I tell you what, the only shot worth its salt in that shrine was the one shot that Kazarka kept hitting me with. Not only does Kazarka hit harder than the meteor that caused the dinosaurs to go extinct, but just like the meteor that killed the dinosaurs, he can still damage me from a mile away behind a pillar. So that plan is not going to work out. Every dark cloud has its silver lining though, for one of the mobs in Kazarka's boss room dropped a Muskin scroll. Easy Blackstones at its worst, easy Muskins at its best. The way that I've led up to this, you might be thinking that I'm actually going to get the Muskin boots. 2 boss armors in 1 episode? I'm not that carried. But to my surprise, his quest reward did give 2 Ancient Guardian seals. I'm not sure if they added these seals to his loot pool after Medaya released, or if this is another bug on the server. But either way, I'm not going to complain. Sausans. If I didn't include this location, a lot of people would be very angry with me. Sausans is the prime source of Grunil gear for me, as well as some red nose scrolls that may someday lead to a red nose armor drop. This grind location is iconic from its days in 2016 and 17 for a few good reasons. The mob density is off the charts. You can pull dozens of mobs to a single location and AoE them down. With a large group of people, you could easily tear down a large pack without hitting any aggro caps and get yourself a large amount of experience in a single pull. Additionally, the trash loot is actually quite valuable if you have the weight to carry it. The trash is heavy and there are multiple types, so it wasn't uncommon to see wagons parked in the safe space along the wall to the northern side of Sausans. This space is also very large. It was not uncommon back in the day to see 4 or 5 full groups grinding in different locations around the grind spot. It was also not uncommon to see fights over any of these rotations. For me though, this place has been a lot more tame and has kind of been put on the back burner for most of my adventure. I only really need Sausans for the Grunil gear, so I only do a few rotations until I can fully repair my gear, and then I head back to do whatever else I was already doing. I'm sorry to disappoint all the nostalgic viewers, but that's about all I have to say about Sausans. It just really hasn't been a very big part of this journey. After spending about 2 hours grinding at Sausans, I ended up with quite a bank of Grunil gear for repairs. Too many helms, not enough gloves, can never work out quite perfectly. Either way, I decided it was a good time to enhance. I have a lot of accessories to tap as well as a bunch of gear that needs to get to plus 15 so I can continue on to Valencia. The enhancements took a while. I started out using my warrior shield for fail stacking, but quickly realized that I had no way to repair it, so I started building up my reblath set. Eventually I will have a full set of reblath armors and a sword and shield that I can fail stack on and then downgrade on a negative karma ult once they all hit plus 15. During this time I'm hoping for either a low stack enhancement on the reblath or for it to not enhance at all so that I can get a usable fail stack for something else. Surprisingly, the reblath cooperated quite a bit and gave me a lot of fail stacks. My enhancing may seem a little bit wild. For instance, I'm enhancing 2 awakening weapons, 2 different gloves, and an extra staff, but I realize that enhancing boss and blue gear will be an expensive long-term endeavor, so I'm using high stacks on those and low stacks on my current green gear. It may cost me a lot of black stones now, but it'll pay off later. So let's start with the blue coral ring, because that is... I don't need it. It's like the worst one out of all of them, which if it goes it's fine, but if it doesn't, okay, alright, there's 1 free AP. Mark of Shadows, it's crazy to say you are the least important accessory that I have right now. So, goodbye. Okay. That one hurt a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. Red coral ring. You're okay. I hate to see you go. But if you have to go, so be it. Ouch. Okay. I think it's like a 50% chance at this enhancement level. I was hoping that these would start going. Ouch. Okay. Alright. So, I got 1 pry out of all those accessories. That hurts. The session actually went okay, I guess. Though I didn't get my Grunil gear upgraded as easily as I hoped, and I didn't get my Adsphera to pry, I did get my Beg's gloves enhanced with minimal issue, and even got my Laverto staff to plus 15. Plus 15 is one of the hardest enhancements in the game. Back in the day, I got a Dandelion Adsphera for my Witch, and it was my first time enhancing a boss weapon from base. I had so many attempts for a plus 15 Dandelion that I tapped it on a 100 stack, which back in the day was a very valuable pen stack, because I was just convinced that it wouldn't succeed. Well, believe it or not, it did succeed. And crazy enough, I actually have video proof of my poor decision making back in the day. 100 stack gone, plus 15 Dandelion achieved. With what enhancements I could do out of the way, it was time to jump back to accessory farming. Because there's not a whole lot interesting about this, I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. I'll be showing more once I get to the actual gear, such as crescent rings, bassy belts, and boss armor, but I'm low on disk space at the moment, and these are minor accessories, so I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. I went off to Hexe Sanctuary and farmed 4 witches earrings in a little over an hour. Luck was on my side this time, and I managed to get a pry witches earring from it. I then went and farmed up 4 scarlet necklaces, going for an ancient guardian seal at Helms. No guardian seals dropped, so I decided it was worth enhancing some Scarla. I also went and got 2 Schultz belts from Mainz. I decided I would use my current red coral ring and tap it with another, as I had an outlaw ring as a backup if I failed. Scarlet necklace number 1. If it goes, then I'm just good with the necklace. If it doesn't, okay, I'll take that. Alright, Schultz belt. I would also like it if you went, but I have a feeling you won't. 2 AP would be amazing. Nope, okay. I would also really like it if you went Hex earring, because I don't want to have to farm a bunch of you, but I guess I will either way. But it'd be nice if you went. Nope. Okay, I have a feeling it's gonna be just like last time where I got the one item I didn't want, and I'm gonna destroy all of the things that I do want. Yes, it is just like last time. So that didn't go great. I got the one accessory I didn't really want and blew up everything I actually needed. Over the next few days, I went to Rogues to farm for Schultz belts and steel daggers. I got 2 Schultz belts after 4 hours and banked them for the next enhancements. I then swam back out to Pirate Island because I was too lazy to build a raft. Turns out that swimming with the swim speed outfit actually isn't that much slower than a raft. The only downside is that you can't autopath and you have to stop to regain your stamina about 3 times before reaching the island. Once I was there, I was praying for the red coral earring so I would never have to come back to this place. Of course, no red coral earring. I did get a red coral ring, a blue coral earring, and 3 blue coral rings, though, so those are added to the list of things that can be blown up the next time I enhance. I then went back to Hexe to farm for some more witch's earrings. I find that I'm enjoying building up at least 1 tap of each accessory slot, so that way I'm likely to walk away with at least 1 slot upgraded. After 2 hours at Hexe, I ended up with 1 witch's earring. Since I have a backup blue coral earring, I'm happy to take this 1 earring and tap it with the one that I have equipped, just for a chance at pry. I then went back out to Pirate Island. I'm really getting tired of all this swimming. No red coral earring, but I did get visited by 3 deer outside my window. 1 mom and her baby, who pretty much raised her fawn in our yard, and a buck that has a bad leg who's been hanging out in the area for the past year or 2. Once they were done distracting me, I did manage to get the most useless pure blackstone in the game, the move speed and fall damage one. Yippee. But just getting the blackstone was pretty cool. This is the 3rd one I've ever seen drop while playing, the other 2 I got while farming my archaeologist map on the main servers. After the stream ended, I still wasn't content with the lack of earring, so I decided I would grind until it finally dropped. I tried out a few grind spots until I found a nice little rotation with a consistent amount of large mobs that could drop the earring. When I set this goal of obtaining a red coral earring, I didn't actually realize how bad of an idea it was. It took another 4 hours of grinding, but I did finally get the earring. Thank goodness I did, because you can see my inventory is getting a little bit full. Upon arriving back in Valencia, I started some enhancing. Surely with all these accessories, I should get at least 2 pry red coral rings and maybe even get a duo attempt or 2 on the blue coral rings. Alright, let's hope that the gloves don't go 15 and the sword doesn't go 15 because I don't have a negative karma alt yet. Okay. 6, 5, 6. Of course. Okay. A 16 stack for a plus 12 glove, or for a plus 15 adds fair. Because if this goes 15, and I have the Laverto, I'll be sitting pretty good. Holy cow, okay. This has failed so many times. Okay, there we 8 AP, finally. I'm very happy with that. Okay. What stack do I want to start red coral rings on? Probably a 10? I won't get the chance, will I? Fine. Let's do 1 tap on here, and now let's blow up a bunch of red corals. I swear, if it actually blows up all of them. I swear. Okay. Yikes. Let's do a... Yeah, sure, let's do a blue coral real quick, just to get it out of the way. Nice. Okay. Blue coral earrings to 10, and then witch's earring. Oof. Please cooperate. Please be nice. This should be like a 30% chance. Easy. Okay. I'm happy with that. Let's go plus 8. Just for this. Maybe it goes. I really just need the Schultz belt. Schultz belt would be the last accessory. Okay, let's go for a duo blue coral ring. Not that it's gonna go. It's more of just a free fail stack for me. Okay. And now the Schultz belt. This has to go. Otherwise I have to go back to Rogues. Let's see if this goes. And of course not. So just like before, That didn't go amazing, but it could have been worse. At least the Witch's Earring went, so I don't have to farm those for a little while. I'm still amazed by how easily I've gotten plus 15 blue grade weapons. I have a Laverto and an Allura Ad Sfera at plus 15, and I haven't even gotten all my Grunel upgraded yet. Now all I need is a Schultz belt and Grunel gloves. I may as well get the Schultz belt out of the way, since after that the Grunel should come pretty easy. I was kind of dreading rogues since I've already spent so much time there, but in the first hour I got 2 Schultz belts and a necklace. One of the belts and the necklace even went back to back. So back to Tariff to get that Pry belt. Or not. Back to rogues, I guess. Alright, now I'll get the Pry belt for sure. Or not. Back to rogues. Okay, this time it's guaranteed. Man, this is really getting ridiculous. Fortunately, I was getting pretty good drops from the area, and on a 14 stack, I finally managed to get my Pry Schultz belt. If I would just put this kind of effort into modern BDO, I wouldn't even be stuck at 700 gear score anymore. Well, with all the accessories out of the way, there's only one thing standing between me and Valencia: the Grunel gloves. Fortunately, unlike accessories, Grunel gear drops quite a bit. Unfortunately, since I can't trust the storages to not put my weapons and armor into my pure iron crystal stack, I have to carry around a lot of my non-stackable items. I guess we can call this a hardcore Iron Man challenge at this point. I was fighting weight and inventory management for the entire hour and a half that I was at Sausans, and my inventory looked like this. Ignore the silver weight, this screenshot is from right after my Sausans grind when I was selling the trash. After this grind, and with some of the extra Grunel that I had laying around, I had enough gloves to get 2 full durability bars repaired. Time to enhance and pray that this is finally enough. While going for a plus 15, I managed to build up a Pry stack and go for Pry on my Grunel chest piece. 3 taps later, and I had a duo stack. Honestly, building Try and Tet stacks on Grunel gear is probably the best thing that can happen. 2 taps on the Pry boots, and I'm 1 tap away from a Try stack. No skipping on the last attempt just to build suspense, and... okay, a duo. I'll take it. I'm not mad, but I'm not exactly excited about it either. At this point, I only have 4 more attempts for plus 15 gloves with my remaining durability. I don't really want to do it, but if it comes to it, I may have to take drastic measures to make this happen. The luck of Rapalus shines on me today as I hear that oh so wonderful ding sound. After 106 hours on this character, I am finally ready to take on the final expansion of 2017, Valencia. I sit at 143 AP, 287 DP, and level 57. I was beginning to think this day would never come. For those of you who are wondering how far along I am on all of those goals that I set at the start, I will scroll them across the screen far too fast for you to actually read. The ones marked in green are finished. I've completed about 44% of the goals, but I think we all know that that does not mean that I'm 44% of the way through this journey. You can look forward to seeing a lot more of me in the future. I'm sorry if the end of this video felt like it went a little fast. I'm currently racing my hard drive to get this finished so I can clear out all the old footage and have space again. If this video goes well, then it might be a good excuse for me to invest in some more storage space. With all that out of the way, make sure to catch me on Twitch if you'd like to prolong this adventure by forcing gear enhancements upon me. Otherwise, I will see you next time in Valencia.